Hey, good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is Brad Thompson. I'd like to welcome you guys to BT Ballers. Today we have a special guest from Michigan Sports Media Network who also brings us, who sponsors us here on BT Ballers. We've got James Gullett. He is a reporter for the Michigan Sports Media Network, and he also does a lot of reporting on the Red Wings and Tigers, Pistons, all that stuff. So, James, welcome. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me.
Good, good. So we're going to talk some Major League Baseball opening days happening tomorrow. Tigers are in LA. Got Scuba going against the defending world champion LA Dodgers. But want to talk roster here to start a little bit. Rosters were just released. Uh, the obviously I think the 90-pound elephant in the room is the Tigers' injuries. So far they've had Parker Meadows, my opinion, second best out or defensive outfielder in baseball. Can make a case that he's the best leadoff man. His WAR was great, big reason they won 31-11 down the stretch, but he's hurt for 60-day IL. Personally, I don't. I keep saying I don't think he's coming back. He got a dead nerve, and I don't think he's coming back. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope people light my Twitter or my X account up. But then when you have your center fielder who's replacing him in Wenceel Perez, who's had back problems now for the last month, and he goes on the 30-day IL with a bad back where he has to get injections. And with backs, you never know. It could be back, it could be set back again. So with Matt Vierling out, he's gone. So right now, you don't know when he's coming back because he got the rotator cuff. And here's what scares me, James, is Riley Green, the best defensive left fielder in baseball. He has spent an average of 13 games since he's been up. 13 games on the IL, including one stint where he was out for 6 weeks. Every year he goes on the IL. And you see that happening, and you're just like, this is such Lions 2.0. So I just want to get your thoughts, just to start with the injuries in the outfield, what you see out there, and for the time moving forward.
Well, first, I want to quickly jump off topic, and I do want to give a quick shout out to my loving wife, Rachel. She is my rock, my soulmate, my other half, no doubt the better half. And today is her birthday. So I
Ah,
would
hey,
like to thank her for allowing me to do this on her birthday and take up some time.
yeah, happy birthday! You got a hell of
Just
a
want to
lady
say,
there.
yes, I do. She is fantastic. I don't know why she picked me, but I'm glad she did. I'd
We
also want to
always,
give you a quick shout out, Brad. I also want to give you a quick shout out, Brad, for having me on your incredible show, branching out from Michigan Sports Media's podcast and giving me the courage to actually look into getting my own show as well. I know Jay said from the beginning that, he endorses us branching out and doing our own thing. And the fact that you kind of jumped out here, you got BT Ballers rolling, you already have a pretty decent, solid amount of views and whatnot.
yeah.
It's inspired me to try to reach out and grab some of my own ideas as well. But to get
Well,
back on topic, oh, go ahead.
oh no, I certainly appreciate that. Love having you on. If I can do it, then I pretty much think anybody can do it. But hey, just having fun here talking sports, getting off on, going off on rants, but just trying to get some people to love me on X and some people to hate me on X. I guess that's the way you do business on here. But no, certainly appreciate it. And with that being said, turn it over to you to figure out this outfield disaster.
Yeah, this roster, and I'm actually surprised that you brought up, well, I should say the number you brought up when mentioning Riley Green on average misses 13 games a season on the IL. Just off the top of my head, without doing research, I would have assumed it was higher than that, to be honest. I feel like just as a viewer of the game, and I watch many Tigers games a year, obviously not all 162, but I would probably say at least 50 to 60, that there's been tons of times that I've seen him miss time in my
Hmm.
viewing
Hmm.
experience. So if I don't catch every game, I don't even know when he is not playing. So the fact it's 13 games a year, on one hand makes me more confident because I thought he was missing more than that.
Mhm.
But at the same time, with the injuries that we already have, is of course not a good icing on the cake.
Mm.
And then in terms of the outfield injuries, like you said, it reminds me a lot of the Lions. Lions 2.0, because um it's not just one or two injuries total on the team. It is just constantly more outfield and then more outfield and more outfield. It reminds me of prior to trading for Zadarius Smith, there were weeks where the Lions tried out defensive ends 4 and 5 because we were down not only Hutch, but we were also down Davenport and some other guys that people forgot about, like Kaminsky. So even when you hear a name like, um, I don't want to crap on him, but a name like Perez doesn't exactly jump out to me at least. But when you hear him go down, it's like, yeah, but that was our second guy to begin with.
Mhm.
So it wasn't like, oh, well, we lost the depth piece. I'm like, no, he was starting because the other guy was already out. So
Mhm.
it's keeps going down. I'm actually a little shocked that we sent Henry Malloy down. I thought maybe he can get a little bit more time with the injuries and whatnot. He's streaky. He's been hot and cold, but he played some significant minutes last season in critical games. So I just shocked. Hopefully that means that some of these other guys we got are better. I will trust Hinch. I think Hinch is arguably the best, if not maybe the second best coach slash manager we have in the city of Detroit. He has been there, done that a few times over. Granted, you know, insert controversy here, but I feel like we should have kept more depth, like I said, with Malloy, because looking over the final roster, if you have noticed, we have only kept three outfielders or three players under the outfield title on the roster for opening
Mhm.
day.
Mhm.
Like, of course, you can adjust that as time goes on, but as thin as we are already, I'm shocked that that is the number.
Yeah. Well, you make a good point there with the three outfielders, but we've got to keep in mind too. They got Kreidler written down as a as an infielder. We know Baez has been out there, and Baez has been getting some pretty serious looks. So you could include, in those two in that. To your point, though, too, I was raised my eyebrows a little bit that Malloy was left off. I can see Kreidler being in because they have gotten him multiple reps out there in center field. The one that I scratch my head about, and I haven't seen. I'm not going to sit here and I've seen him play, but I've seen his stats, and they're complete horseshit. Is Margot, Manuel Margot? I mean, why? I mean, is he a better center field? If he's a better center fielder than Kreidler and Baez, okay, I get it because you got to take outs away, but he's not going to do anything offensively for you. But I mean, you're going to see honestly, you're going to see a gong show out there. They're going to figure out who can play center field the best, and they'll just put that guy in there. You're playing in one of the most cavernous ballparks in Major League Baseball, so this does not bode well. It's not getting off on the right foot. I trade, like I said, I mentioned in our other podcast that Dalton Varsho's out there. I don't think Toronto does a damn thing this year. I think they'll move Bichette, they'll move Ladd Jr. So they could move Varsho. He's on a 1 year deal at $8 million. Maybe get a Tigers would throw him a mid range prospect, maybe even a 9 or a 10 overall. But like I said, the outfield, it's like they say, it's a mess. Moving on, we're again talking about it yesterday. We look over to third base and we see McKinstry and Ibanez over there, and they're gonna platoon, and that tandem is far and away the worst in baseball. Could be the worst in baseball, with the last 5 years. Uh, Batting average is horrible. Um, OBP, we're talking in the twos for McKinstry, low threes for Ibanez. Their defense is suspect, and they've left the cupboard bare there. I don't know how much they were relying on getting Bregman. Maybe they thought they were getting him no matter what. But if they go in with those for the year, we're not talking about any finishing anywhere near in contention. So we've got Nolan Arenado out there, average age of St. Louis Cardinals right now is 26 years old, youngest team in baseball, except for Arenado. That brings it up to an average of 28. So he's on some of a decline, but he can still play at a pretty high level. Still has the glove, which we need. Still has the right-handed stick, and he can give you. He hit 16 homers last year, but he hit 26 homers the year before. Playing 82 games in Comerica, probably give you close to 20 home runs, but that sure as hell is better than the combined of McKinstry and Baez, a combined 24 in their whole career. So, you can give me your thoughts on that, especially third base, because this just makes me feel even worse.
If you're watching this, it's because you love sports. If you love sports, why not show that love with some new gear, like the two jerseys behind me? Fanatics has a lot of stuff on sale right now, and if you go down in the description, click the link of whatever team that you want, it'll take you to the Fanatics page, buy some stuff, and we get a small portion. It'll help us out, and you'll get some discounts on some good gear.
Yeah, anyone who's followed me on X over the years known I have been and it's obviously going back, a giant critic of Brendan Inge. But my gosh, would I kill to have him right now at third base.
Okay.
He
Yes,
was an immaculate glove, but a walking strikeout. But
right.
but I'm
I,
like,
I
my
mean,
God, at least he can knock out one half of the job.
yes, he was a tremendous. I mean, I don't think they knew he was. I don't think they knew how good he was. And see, that's the thing that I think all of us have to realize is it's not all about the offense. You can scoring runs. You can take runs away. And Inge probably when he was playing third base over there on a regular basis he probably took, a quarter to a half run a game, over the course of 162 seasons away. That adds up. And then you got Parker Meadows out there. He was taking three-quarters of a run away, every game. So there's more ways, but you've got no offense from these two. You've got no defense from these two. Center field, same thing. I mean, we could be looking at a lineup here, all right, of Jake Rogers, hell of a defensive catcher, will take runs away, but he can't hit worth a damn. All right, Colt Keith, positive there. He's added some weight, so he's not going to be a liability at second base there. So that'll take a couple runs, not a couple, but I'll take some a few fractions of runs off the board. He's going to have some pop in there too. Now left-handed, he's going to hit 5 to 7 more home runs this year, in my opinion, at least. Glaber Torres, I think he comes back to all-star form. What I'm worried about is who's going to protect him in the lineup if Green goes down. But if Green stays up, I see Torres leading off with Green actually hitting second. That's just the way it's going right now. Um, Shortstop, you got Baez. It's not even if you don't know about his offense, then you just don't know baseball. Sweeney had a good spring. He just don't. I mean, dude, the guy's swinging. I mean, you could throw something in the other team's dugout, and he's going to swing at it. He's pre-programmed, and whatever. I 26 million a year, but whatever. Um, Sweeney had a good spring. Plus
Yep.
defender, great. Third base is ass. We know that. Riley Green is going to step in. I think going to be a top 15 ball player. Stays healthy all year long. He is just knocking on the door of his prime. He's not even entering. He's just knocking on the door and he's doing damn well. Center field's a disaster. Right field means you're going to have Kerry Carpenter out there. Uh, Jesus Christ. I mean, not doing my old cliche about Carpenter and right, but no, man. I mean, enough is to make, it has have an alcoholic fall off the wagon when you go to watch these guys, but it's not good. Offensively, they're going to be challenged to score an average, I think, of of 4 a game if they're lucky. But here's the golden, the rainbow, of it is the pitching staff is unbelievable. You got the best pitcher in baseball. You got Jack Flaherty, who I think him and Skubal, that's a top five tandem. Mostly weighted on Skubal, but Flaherty, I mean, Flaherty was outstanding here, just outstanding. Uh, Reese Olson, he has a penchant to give up the long ball if he gets his command dialed in better and not want to, throw it over the plate. Casey Mize has been the story of camp. 1.89 ERA. I think he's fully recovered back from Tommy John surgery. I don't think he was last year. He didn't have anything to show for it before Tommy John, but takes some guys a little longer to figure it out, and it's only spring training. But if this dude can live up to his number one overall, I mean that's gonna all bets are off then with the Tigers. And finally, Jackson Jobe, they showed an overlay of his stuff yesterday on video. Just Jesus. I mean, you got Terry Skubal saying, I don't want to look at his stuff because it's better than mine, and he's saying it with a straight face. Yowza. So your thoughts on the staff.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I think we will struggle heavily with offense. But I think this team is going to bank heavy, and I'll even say successfully, on the pitching, and not only the starting pitching, but the bullpen as well.
Yeah.
I can see 4 runs using the number you brought up because I do think that's a fair number, 3 to 4. I see that being enough in 50 to 60% of games because I think our pitching staff would just hold the other team down that much. We have a nice mixture, in my opinion, of the young guys like Mize and Job with the vets like Flaherty. And as you said, I would not sleep on Flaherty. I do think Skubal and Flaherty are a top 5 duo in the league, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Um, he was such a good, and I don't know if it was pre-planned, but such a good story and a good player with him kind of I don't quite want to say breaking out, but I will, breaking out, having a solid year as a starter. We traded him away at the deadline, got a couple young prospects for him, and then in the offseason we re-signed him. So now we got him and the prospects.
Yeah.
So long term, or I should say like the 6 month plan from the deadline last year, we just basically got some prospects for free. So I mean, I will take that. I'm so glad he's back. Mize is someone I gave up on because I just said enough is enough, and he is making me eat crow, which I am more than fine with as long as you still are wearing the Old English D. If we do get rid of you because we think you're done and then you make me eat crow, I'll hate you. But you're still here, so I'm glad you finally worked it out. It does take a little bit of time. I don't know if it was pre-show or during the show that you mentioned. It takes, more than a year to come back from that Tommy John, and he seems to be right in that stuff again. And there's a reason he was drafted first overall. He has good stuff, and he's finally showing it. And if he can be consistent with that, um, it I was going to say the Tigers found something in him, but at the same time, it's only because the lackluster performance after being drafted first overall, because in theory, you draft the guy 1 overall, you expect him to be your ace. And with Skubal, I mean, he won't be, but he can be a hell of a number 3 to 4. I think there's a chance he passes Olson, although there's a chance Joe passes both of them, to be honest. So it's going to be a fun, hopefully friendly competition to see how fast the younger guys like Joe come through here, because I know he looked not very good in the postseason last year, but there is a lot to be said about that, in my opinion, just because that was his first taste of major league action. He went straight from, I think it was Double A. He might have been in Triple A, but I think he was in Double A.
Double A.
And Double A, okay, thank you. At the time I thought he was, but he went straight from Double A, and his first ever taste of major league action is out of the bullpen, which he doesn't do. He's a starter. And as you know, and anyone who plays baseball knows, starters have their routines. They like to eat the same thing on game day. They like to take a nap at a certain time, whatever. All of that's thrown off. He's in the bullpen. He doesn't get to start his game, do his routine and all that. And not only are the bright lights on, but it's also the postseason now. So your first taste of MLB action is outside of your usual and in the postseason where everything matters 10 times more. So he didn't look great, but I can give him a pass. He was under, I mean, shit, if I was out there, I would have pissed myself. So I'll give him a pass on that. But like you said, his stuff is great. Like we've all seen videos. I've seen one of him at, forgive me, I'm forgetting the name of his training academy, but it, just the same arm slot, the same motion, the same everything, but the ball does 20 different things. Whether it sinks or curves, and it all looks the same coming out of his hand. You can see why he's the top prospect, or if not one of the top prospects in baseball. I know he's the number one prospect for the Tigers, but it might. I think he's. I'll round it and say top five for the
Yeah,
league in terms of prospects.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so I'm like, you can see why he is. He's still young. He's only 22, so
He's 20.
I might be more excited to watch him uh play the season and develop in front of our eyes than uh almost the team itself. I feel like he would be the storyline to watch moving forward.
No, no, definitely. And you see, that's the thing. Double-edged sword here. With Mize is your fourth, he's the number one pick overall. You got Jackson Jobe as your five, who's number one prospect in your organization, number five prospect overall. And believe it or not, he's 20 years old. He couldn't even wink, wink, take part in the champagne and beer celebration when they clinched. So again, a lot of things have to fall right. So many things have to fall right with the boat they're in right now. But back to the bullpen, there were a couple, not eyebrow raising, but Andrew Chafin was sent down to AAA. We traded him to Texas for Carson Kelly. No, we traded Carson, something with Carson Kelly. And then we got Carson Kelly for him or something like that, whatever. But he his last stint here in the Tigers uniform, he didn't do anything. He wasn't good. Then Jason Foley, people might say, oh, he's the closer. Well, down the stretch, you lost that closer role, especially in the playoffs, to Bo Brisky. He had some serious command issues. He did not pitch. He did not pitch well the last month of the season. Uh, with replacing them with Chafin the lefty, they brought up Brand Herder, and we talked about that on the podcast about a month and a half ago about how he could win one. The number five spot in the rotation, left-handed pitcher that throws gas, has a heavy ball, gets a lot of ground balls, throws hard. And it's a good matchup coming out of the pen. And then Brennan Hanafy had a great spring, another pure heat guy. So, Jeff Passan said today, or I'm sorry, I take it back, yesterday, that he was picking Kansas City to win the Central. And he said, after I saw the Tigers pitching overall, I'm taking Detroit because they got the best 11-man staff in the game. And I could say, see, you know what? I could see it because Tommy Conley coming over from New York has the best changeup in the game. He was a high leverage guy for the last 3 years for the Yankees, and he was surprised, and quite frankly, so was I, that he didn't get offered a contract. But hell, we'll take him. Jonathan Brebbia, in the right situation, he's a guy with experience. He's a veteran. He didn't do too well in Atlanta, which kind of puts a red flag up because Atlanta's got a bunch of dudes. We know that. Uh, I think Brisky's gonna be in that closing role. I do. Will Vest, but they go bullpen by committee. They're gonna have their bullpen days. But I think of all of them in that bullpen, head and shoulders, at least in my opinion, Tyler Holton is a flat out dude. I mean, the year he had last year where he was on a streak of so many innings without giving up a run, and then he actually got a third place vote in the MVP. So if you think about a setup man, a setup man getting an MVP vote, that's pretty damn good. So I like the bullpen overall. Just a final thought about the bullpen from you. Go ahead.
His scoreless streak was 12 and a half innings. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
12 and one third innings. So that was one I was watching close because I'll sell myself out. I don't care. I wasn't fond of him for a while, and one of the think it went to 3 Tigers games last year. He was starting because there was an opener day, and I'm just like, shit. Like, of course we get to watch this guy, and on one of the days I get to spend my hard-earned money, and he had 3 shutout innings. And like I said, as long as you're in a Detroit uniform, whether it's Tigers, Lions, I don't give a shit. I would love to eat crow. I would love to be wrong. I'll come out here, and I know you're right there with me. I like to give you the elbow to the ribs about Torkelson, who
Oh,
has
same.
5 home runs in the
Yeah.
spring. And but like I know you obviously want to be wrong, but you see what you see, you know what you know, and
Hmm.
we'll talk about it as it happens. We do have the right to change our minds as the players change how they're playing.
Right.
Um, so I was not a big fan of Fulton at first. He obviously won me over. If you're not a fan of him at this point, I don't quite want to say you don't know ball, but maybe you just are a hater. But I really like our bullpen, like you said. I don't know if we have the setup man, closer, and all the traditional roles of a bullpen, just because of how you said he Hinch likes matchups.
Hmm.
If he likes Vest in the sixth because it's against a certain hitter, he'll just use him. He's not going to save him for the eighth as a setup role, and then he's just going to roll whoever out. He trusts every single person in that pen, and it's more of a chess game than usual because I think baseball by itself is more of a chess game than other sports.
Hmm.
But I feel AJ Hinch likes to take it to that notch above and is getting the most out of each possible pitcher we have on the staff.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. And last year there was nobody better in handling a staff. I'm not going to sit here. Well, you know what I am. Everything he touched turned to gold, but you know what? He does that on a consistent basis. Look what he did in Houston. Okay? I mean, nobody handles the bullpen better. Now, I know that Terry Francona is back with the Reds. He'd give him a run for his money. Okay? But if not playing homer card here, but if I had to have a guy that's handling a bullpen, boy, I'll tell you what, give me AJ Hinch every day and twice on a Tuesday. He that's key. It's like matchups in basketball, it's like personnel, dime package, nickel packages in football. And it's going to be a reason why they stay in contention. Granted that that these pitchers pitch to the expectations that they have, and I believe they will. So I do think that the Tigers will stay in contention. Before, like you said with Torkelson, I forgot to bring him up. He had an amazing spring, and I've been red assing the hell out of him for the last 2 years, and walking into spring training. But you know what? I'm glad that he shoved it up my ass, okay? Because what he did in spring training is amazing. All right. But what I've got to say now is I'm not trying to hate, man. I'm not trying to hate. But I want to see him do it over the course of 162 games. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to see a sub 200 batting average. He is not Dave Kingman from back in the days with the Cubs. I don't care if he hits 222. Don't care. Okay. Use all fields like he has been for his power. Hit 222. Give me 25. Give me 85. And that will be a shot in the arm for the Tigers that could and would vault them into contention and actually take them pretty far. If he can produce it for through mid-May even, because supposedly when they get Meadows back and they get Vierling back and they get Perez back, all right, look at that offense. Look at the defensive runs taken away. But if Torkelson can live up to that number one overall pick like we're expecting Mize to do this year, uh, no, that's the it's a game changer, and all bets are off in a good way. So I'm really hoping that he does do that. I've seen him making adjustments at the plate. I've seen his bat becoming quicker because he has made his approach different. He has changed his uh his stance a little bit now, where the launch angle, where his hand, I don't want to get too geeky on you, but he's changed his hand level, which therefore has the launch angle in a 33 to a 37-degree angle. But also with the adjustment, he has trouble hitting 98 and above, and he was smacking around pretty good. So, but that'll be me getting off my baseball geekness. So, let's turn to the national scene. Um, let's talk predictions. Uh, I'll go over mine. I'll start first on the American League. Then you can follow up. Then you can go first on the National, and I'll follow up. Uh, in the Central, before all this happened, I picked Detroit. I did. Uh, I can't right now. I won't right now. I do reserve the right to change my on this one only, though. I'm not going to go back and change it only. I think there's extenuating circumstances, but I took Minnesota, and much like Detroit, Minnesota, they've got to have a healthy Byron Buxton, they've got to have a healthy Carlos Correa, and they've got to have a healthy uh, Royce Lewis. So if they don't, then it might take a step back. Remember, they had a total collapse down the stretch. I don't see them doing that anymore, and I don't see the Tigers going 31-11 down the stretch. Not to go off on a tangent, but 31-11 down the stretch in a playoff pennant chase. Tigers went 35-5 and 84. That's never going to happen again. But that's the beginning of the season where, but not much pressure. Of course, it's pressure. It's professional sports, but you're not having to go out there every day on the line. And they go 31-11 where every game freaking counted. They're making plays like Jace Young did over the shoulder where if that ball drops, they might not be in the play. They might not have been in the playoffs. So that's not going to happen again. I hope I'm wrong, but it's not going to happen again. Where were they before that? Under 500. So anyways, I digress. But with the Central, anything could happen. It's outside of Chicago, any team can finish from first place to fourth place. So actually, you know what? Let's do this a little different. Give me your thoughts on the Central.
In the Central, I think it's the Tigers to be had, to be honest. And I'm not just saying that as a homer. I think pitching and defense wins baseball. And I think we have one of the best lineups, or I should say, starting five, not lineups, starting five, and one of the best bullpens. And I think we will lean heavily on that. Now, if if the pitching does not pan out how I see it in my head, we are in trouble because I think we have, rattling some teams through my head, I think we have a bottom 5 to 10 offense in the league. I think we, I think basically, if you watch Wings games, I know I'm the Wings guy and this is about baseball, but there's a stat where the first team to score three wins like 85% of the time. Even if the score ends up 5-4, the first
Right.
team to score three. And I kind of feel like that coming into this year with the Tigers is like the first team to score like four, because I don't know if the Tigers will put up any games of 5, 6, 7 runs. So we need to focus on the taking the runs away, like you said,
Mhm.
with their defense and just keeping them out of the or keeping the ball in the park and just off the scoreboard.
Right.
So for me, with that, um, I have Detroit taking it. I'm not fearing anyone really in the AL Central. If I am, I would even potentially say Cleveland over the Twins personally. But like you said, other than the White Sox, everyone's neck and neck. It also depends on injuries, and there could be a big injury week one, and all the things we say right now just go out the window. So as we sit here today, I would say the Tigers.
Okay. To make a quick point on what you said with, the pitching goes a long ways, and if they're not going to score a lot of runs, here's what you can run into. The pitchers start getting it in their head that they can't give up so many. Then they start try going and not just throwing their stuff, but they're trying to make the perfect pitch. Okay, and when you try to go make the perfect pitch, it never works out well. So when they have it in their mindset that they can't give up so many runs or else they're going to get in trouble, it's not good. It's not good when pitchers feel like they got to press because they're not getting offense. That's a recipe for disaster. But so hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully that doesn't happen. It seems like, uh, yeah, you say it was Scooble. He hardly got any run support last year, but that could be reversing where the Tigers are saying in their mindset, Scoobs has got this. Let's put up two or three. I hope I'm wrong, but who knows? Without going too much into it, in the East, I personally have Baltimore coming winning the East. I think that Jackson Holliday raises his game, and he's going to be a stud. And I think Gunnar Henderson takes his game to another level. and he was in top 3 in MVP last year. He might have even been 2. So he was either 2 or 3. So one thing that I do see that could be an Achilles heel is they lost Anthony Santander. But I think the young phenom Mayo can come up and replace him there. And Corbin Burns, that's a tough one for them to lose as well. But, with Baltimore, Baltimore's got a great farm system. Baltimore's got some great young dudes. When there was that talk about, Scooble getting traded before they went on that run, it was about trading him to Baltimore, and the one guy that was off the table was Holiday. But there was 3 other guys that definitely would have kind of probably made that trade not just palpable, but even a good trade. And those 3 guys are going to be in the show. I cannot. I know Mayo's one of them. I can't think of the other two's names. But Baltimore's set up to win for a long time. So, your thoughts?
My thoughts on the East, I'm sorry.
Yes, on the East, please.
Yeah, on the East, I have Boston winning the East personally. Um, I think just between them and the Yankees, there's just too much firepower there. And Baltimore, I do think will still squeak into the playoffs. I do have Baltimore as my 6th seed. Um, but I just think other teams have done more than them this offseason to surpass them, to keep it short.
Okay. Yeah, I've got 3 teams coming out in the playoffs too from the East. With Boston, their pitching scares me. Their bullpen to me looks a little suspect, but they definitely are going to score runs. But if Devers can stay happy, that's it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem there. The man is a very prideful guy, and right now he's only playing half a game because he's going to be DHing. So keep an eye on that. But with the Yankees are going to do what the Yankees are going to do. They got a great farm system. They lost arguably they lost the top 5 pitcher in the game and Garrett Cole out for the year. But we all know with the Yankees, they're not going to settle for that. You're going to see a big trade coming. I don't think that it'll be enough to get them into first place. Maybe it will, but it's definitely going to be a big trade. Uh, could be for an Alcantara from the Marlins when they're just trying to accrue prospects and draft prospects there. So if they could get an Alcantara, I'm sorry, then whew, boy, they might, I've got them going a long ways anyways, but they can make another run. So Boston, like I said, then I got Houston, the other wild card. I don't know about that one. I don't know. I don't know. They've had some attrition. Uh, they're on the decline, at least in my opinion. So, but I still have them, getting in just based on, nah, just based on experience. So, who do you got for your wild card?
My 3 wildcard teams for the AL are the Yankees, Houston, and Baltimore. So, as you said, I think Houston is declining, but for now, I think they still have enough in the tank to at least make the wildcard spot.
Yeah, okay. Glossed over. I don't know why I did this, but we glossed over Texas. I got Texas winning the West, but
Yep.
that's dicey. That's going to depend on 2 things: Jacob Degrom pitching the whole year long, Corey Seager staying healthy. If those 2 things can happen, then they're going to go a long way. In fact, I'll get to that down the road here. But um, my sleeper team, believe it or not, is the Athletics. Reason being is they went on a hot streak at the end there. Maybe it was just because, it was reminiscent because they were closing the Coliseum down. I don't think so, though. This is a damn good young team that nobody has even heard of. They're not even called. They're just called the Athletics. It's like the Washington football team. They're going to Vegas, but they have to have a stopover in Sacramento. Now that can galvanize a team. That could go 2 ways. It could be like, fuck this, or it could be like, you know what, we're in Sacktown, baby. Us against the world. So I got the Athletics here. Does that mean they're going to do anything? No, but keep an eye on them. And I'll finish here. Then I can get your sleeper, and I can get the American League. excuse me, figured out. So I got Minnesota, Houston in the wild card. Minnesota, excuse me, coming going to play Texas, who's the 1 seed. I've got Boston and New York matching up. We always love that. First round in the wild card. I do have New York winning that. They would go on to face Baltimore. Um, I got Texas advancing over Minnesota. I got the Yankees advancing over Baltimore, and I've got Texas headed to the World Series. Cy Young Scooble, MVP Gunnar Henderson. Floor is yours.
For my AL playoffs, I have I'm sorry. First off, for the dark horse, my dark horse is Baltimore. Um, they're not too much of a dark horse. I feel like that's slightly a cop out, but I feel they're a team because I also have the Yankees and the Red Sox making the playoffs, and Boston going further, which I will touch on later. But I just think being the third best team in their division, not too many people will talk about them, but there's someone you can't ignore just because they're third in their division. It kind of reminiscent to me of the NFC North, where we just have a lot of good teams in one division. So I know people on the outside might say, well, you didn't even win your division, so how good are you? It's like, you can still be pretty damn good.
Mm.
So I have the Orioles as my dark horse for the AL. And then in terms of my AL playoffs, I have Texas and Boston finishing 1 and 2, earning the bye weeks. I have Detroit at number 3 that takes on Baltimore in the first round. I have Detroit winning that. On the other side of the bracket, I have the Yankees versus the Astros, which I have the Yankees winning. In the next round, I have Detroit versus Boston, with unfortunately Boston taking the better of us. Then New York versus Texas. I think Texas is going to take that nod. And then I have Boston going on, beating Texas to represent the AL in the World Series.
Wow. Okay, who you got for your Cy Young and
Oh, I'm sorry. Cy
MVP? That's
Young,
okay.
Scooble.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cy Young, Scooble. He did it last year. He'll do it this year. Um, and you got to be the man to beat. You got to beat the man to be the man. And until
Yeah.
someone beats him, I'm going with Scooble.
Hmm.
MVP Bregman. Um, I just see him being that final piece of the puzzle in Boston. That's why I have Boston going so far. And as much as, because I was pretty vocal on X about not wanting him for the price that he signed at. Um, while they play, I don't know how many people are thinking about how much each player makes. But when he's just on the field playing, you'll ooh and ah because he is a Gold Glove candidate. He is a damn good batter. And until you look at the spreadsheet, he's a damn good ball player, and people might forget about exactly how much he got signed. But
Yeah,
it's
and
also kind of a double-edged. Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Finish what you're gonna say.
I was gonna say it's a double-edged sword for me because I do have Boston and Detroit playing in the playoffs, and how desperately we started, and we even talked about it on this podcast, how badly we need a third baseman. And it's just like, damn, that'd be so nice to have him. But for the price, I get it. We offered him a fair contract if the
Yeah.
reported numbers were true, and what happened happened.
Yeah, I still don't think he wanted to be here. Uh, but boy, how can you think Tiger fans in your scenario here, which very well could happen? How do you think Tiger fans are going to, love watching Boston just come in here and, take a series, from us, and then Bregman goes on to the World Series, becomes MVP? Man, that's talk about just knocking your dick in the dirt. That spot, that's a shit burger, as Lou Brown would say, that you got to eat. So. Uh, Real quickly here, we'll save the LA salary cap for another day. Over in the West, just not going to go too fast, but just to run through it. In the West, I've got LA. I mean, anybody who doesn't take LA obviously is just, I don't know what planet you're from. In the Central, I like the Cubs. We talked off air about how they really didn't do, they're in on Bregman, but other than that, they really didn't. They let Bellinger slip away. So, but I still think they have enough there. Where and just based on the other teams, to be honest with you, I think Milwaukee takes a step back. So I got the Cubbies in the East with Acuna coming back. Hopefully, God willing. I think Atlanta is the cream of the crop there, but with my wild cards, though, having said that, I've got the Mets and Phillies. So just like the AL, I've got the NL with three East teams coming through there. Last one being San Diego because San Diego's got a hell of a ball club. But guess what? They've got basically a super team in LA they got to look forward to. Coming playoff wise, the brackets with Cubs being a 3, finishing third out of the winners, playing Philly, who would be the last wild card. I got the Mets playing San Diego. Philly advancing against the Cubs. So Philly to play LA. Got LA winning that, of course. Got the Mets and Mets San Diego. I got the Mets taking that. Mets and Braves. I'm gonna have a repeat of last year because of the Juan Soto factor here. They didn't have Juan Soto last year. Now they do. Well, they beat the Mets or they beat the Braves last year. So, but it was so damn close with Lindor. I think the Mets win that. Then you got it. What everybody wants. This is what everybody wants, and they're getting it. They're getting LA, the two coast teams. They're getting Otani against Soto. And let's just face it, man. I mean, LA would sweep the 27 Yankees. I just believe they would. So you got Texas, LA, and in my bracket, and I got LA at a 4-0 sweep. So what say you?
Um, I know we did talk off air prior to coming on here about some of our guys, and surprisingly, we only differ on opinions really on one team. I have LA and Atlanta being the two bye weeks at 1 and 2. I do have the Cubs at number 3, and then my three wild cards are the Mets. And I have Phillies at 6, but our 5 differs. You have San Diego. I have Arizona. I think the Diamondbacks will sneak in there.
Yeah.
And then for my bracket, I have the Cubs versus Phillies, which I would have the Cubs winning. Arizona versus the Mets, and I actually have Arizona taking that one. Then it would be Cubs versus Atlanta. I have Atlanta winning that one. LA versus Arizona. LA, like you said, not really much of a thought there. Atlanta versus LA. I have LA. And then for my whole World Series, I have LA overtaking Boston. Their team is just too good. And I mean, I can sit here and talk for a long time about it, but I won't. They're just good.
Yeah, it's the haves and the have-nots, and even on with the haves. They got the have-nots when you got LA. One thing I forgot to add is a shocker here, Otani MVP, and I'm going back to back like Scuba. I'm going to go Paul Skeens. The guy's the luckiest son of a bitch in the world. He's got 102 mile an hour consistent fastball, and he's also engaged to Olivia Dunn. So I don't know what the hell kind of, gold and whatever was smacked on his ass when he was born, but he is a lucky son of a bitch. So Jesus Christ, talk about finding the golden ticket like Willy fucking Wonka. Hey, I don't know. That's just some guys have all the luck, as Rod Stewart would say. So, but I don't want to keep you too long. I know you've got you got your better half's birthday. Please tell her happy birthday for me. Please apologize to her as well. Tell her it's all my fault. I had to have you on. I twisted your arm, had to do it. So if I ever see you out there, I'll come over, tell her I'll clean her house or whatever she needs. But hey, it's been fun. It's been fun talking. Talking the season. Opening day starts tomorrow. We're gonna be on here a lot. We're gonna be on with Jace on the Michigan Sports Media Network pod. But hey, thanks for coming on BT Ballers. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So hey, it was a fun podcast, guys. So this is Brad Thompson coming to you from BT's Ballers, and we out.